Good evening and welcome everybody to our furry feelings and frequency. What do your pets know about you? I think when Debbie goes to people's houses and she's nosy about what the guardians are doing with the animals. I'm only joking. A warm welcome to everybody tonight. For those of you watching the recording, I hope you enjoy it. We will do some Q&A at the end, or you can pop in the chat. But I'm really excited to introduce Debbie Caknis. She is the resident animal communicator and healing lead tutor at the school. We've been working together for a lot of years now. Debbie has taught me a huge amount about communicating with animals, how to hold space for them. And I'm really going to hand over to her now because you want to hear it from her, not from me. So, Debbie, a warm welcome to you this evening.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you so much. And thank you very much for everybody attending this evening. I know it's so nice and easy to go to drink a hot chocolate and go to bed rather. This cold weather, so I completely get that. So I really appreciate you joining us. I am keeping my cell phone on my lap because there continues to be people asking for the link. So I'm just going to every now and then maybe look down as I see a message coming through. This evening's talk. So somebody said to me this morning she's joining this evening's talk just to watch my enthusiasm, and I have to laugh because I really and truly am hugely enthusiastic about all things energetic, and even more so animals. They make up such a big part of my life that I really cannot imagine waking up one morning and not having an animal around me, not having somebody to touch, to speak to hear, speak to me. So I'm sure that for all of you, sometime in your life, you've had animals or you presently have animals. And I'm hoping that this evening's chat is actually going to bring you that much closer to them. So Cindy was saying about going into people's homes and seeing things about them. Well, let me tell you, I don't have to look because the animals tell. They tell things that we as humans, sometimes as the animal communicator, really don't need to know. Today I discovered that a client of mine and her husband had a huge argument, and I even got some parts of the argument from the cat. So they are going to tell us about things, and I say I prefer not to know, thank you, especially when it becomes like really personal stuff. And the people, or you're going to bump into them in the shopping mall. There's some things you don't want to know about people. So it's at a time like that one says, well, thank you, but not for me right now. But if we just get to the first point of understanding how our animals reflect our emotional and our energetic state, can we get the first slide, Cindy? Getting there. So while we're getting there, how they hold both the emotional and the energetic state happens in many different ways, because for animals, believe it or not, they know exactly, and I'm going to speak about this just now again, but they know exactly what we are thinking and what we are feeling. So when we approach an animal and we have some weird thoughts about what they look like, maybe it's the next one, please, Cindy. And they know well, we look at them and we think that's a strange looking cat, or that's a strange looking dog, or I wonder what happened to that one's ears, or I wonder what happened to that one's tail. I've got to tell you that they know exactly what we are thinking. So animals come into our lives to support us through the seasons of life, offering comfort, guidance, and healing in ways that are physical, emotional, spiritual, and all of the above. Thanks, Cindy. It can go off. So Here we are, knowing that we have these little creatures in our home, or sometimes big creatures in our lives, that know exactly what we feel. It is so lovely to go and see an animal, whether it's in its home or whether it is outside in a paddock or a stable, and they're expecting you to arrive. They actually go, "Oh, you're the talking lady." It's a lovely, lovely feeling to have that recognition. And when we speak to them for the second and the third time, that they know us, they intrinsically know us. The thing that they don't know about us is the smell of our bodies. So if you meet them in person, one of the first things that they may want to do is have a good sniff at you to actually just get that one sense identified. Otherwise, they know exactly what is going on. Now, the amount of animals that have come into clients' lives when, I go like, why are you getting another cat? And the person says, I looked at that cat and it was my soul cat. I had somebody that said that to me on Friday. She said, he spoke to my soul. I couldn't not take him home. And here she has this cat that literally just looked into her eyes and she knew that she had to have him, which I think was the third or the fourth cat. Well, shortly thereafter, she ran into, her marriage ran into some troubles, and then really, really horrible divorce. And then after the horrible divorce, she ended up in financial trouble and was sequestrated. That cat held space for her day and night through those 4 years. That cat was ever present all the time. Her other three cats weren't there. They were around, but they weren't there. That cat never left her bed. That cat licked her tears when she cried. That cat waited for her at the door when she had to go to court. It is a relationship that very few people can actually even start imagining until you've had a relationship like that. So I can tell you about many, many of these, and I will mention a couple as we go along. When I was thinking about who was I going to speak about this evening, um, so many came to mind, but some of them come with really sad stories. So my idea is that we don't fill our minds with sad stories, that we actually get to experience the beauty of these animals and the magic of these animals, and be able to be grateful to them for holding space. So I'll share something personal with you. I had I think in the 2020, my mom died, which was okay because she was old and she was allowed to die. But then following year, my sister died very unexpectedly. And she was my sister that was the one that sort of went on holiday with me, and the one that would take huge amounts of time off when I came to visit to spend time with me. She was that sister. She was the one that filled that space. So losing her was a huge shock. I mean, one day she was there and the next day she was gone. And some months before that, so that was the September that she died. But in the March of that year, my assistant, Peach, who now, well, she wasn't then working for me, but she is now, contacted me about this dog. And she said to me, there's this dog that needs a home. And it's a Chinese crested. And I said, yeah, okay, let's give it a try. Is it cat friendly? And she said, yeah, it is cat friendly. And cat friendly, he sure was not. But he arrived here, this crazy, crazy little dog. I mean, he was 9 years old. He was deeply traumatized because of what had happened to him in the earlier part of his life. And I know that some of you that are online at the moment got to meet him, but he filled a space that I do not, I only now realize how much of a space he filled. I mean, I realized that he filled a space, but how much? This dog took up so much time in my life. He took up so much effort in my life that the grieving that I was needing to do could happen, but it did not happen like it could have happened if there was nothing there to support me. He supported me day and night through his neuroses and through his idiosyncrasies and through his craziness. I mean, Cindy just used to laugh at him when she saw him. She used to call him the crazy dog because he was a crazy, crazy little dog, but he filled a huge, huge space. And then when his day was done, it was actually done. He very sadly died quite early at the age of 12. He was attacked by a dog and only managed to live 3 months thereafter. But he had served his purpose. And I so often look at his photograph and just go, see, you are magnificent. He just knew circumstances and the universe conspired to bring him into my life when I most needed him. And he stayed. And then he left just before I was struggling to, I needed surgery and I was wondering how on earth I was going to cope with this dog with its 2 walks a day. And not many people could walk him because he was too crazy. And how I was going to manage this dog. And he died in the April and I had the surgery in the June. So even to his death, there was something magnificent that came in the timing of having him in my life. And I really and truly can just say, and sorry if anybody does have tears, but yeah, it brings tears to my eyes when I think of him. But it fills my heart at the same time to know that this dog came into my life just at the right time, with the right energy, with all the craziness that he had to have in order to fill that space. And there are some others that I'm going to tell you about as I go along. So if we can get to the second slide, please, Cindy. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm again just needing to send a link.
There's somebody who's unmuted, the lady who's just loving her cat. Can I ask you to mute yourself because your cat turned your mute button off?
There we go. Okay. All right. So discover why they act out, why they withdraw or change during times of stress. So as I mentioned earlier on, animals are fully telepathic. They read our minds. And there is absolutely nothing that you think that they are not going to pick up on. And there's nothing that you say, even if you speak in another language, they are going to understand what you have to say. So don't think you can speak Afrikaans in front of your English speaking dog, because it's going to know precisely what you are saying. Okay. And thanks, Cindy, for that slide. For those people that know about Lemuria and know about Atlantis, you know, there was a time that it's believed that we didn't have speech. We as the human race didn't have speech. And in that time of not having speech, we were hugely telepathic because it was the only way that we could communicate. So animals do it exactly that way. Because they don't have speech like we do, they are going to communicate on a level that is going to will allow them to communicate not only with one another, but hopefully to chat with us too. So in circumstances when people message me or they phone and they say, my cat has just weed on my lap. I don't know what's going on. Why is my cat being so naughty? One of my first questions is, well, it's actually the second question, because my first question is, are you sure your cat doesn't have a urinary tract infection? But my second question is very much, what has happened in the home? Has anything happened in the home to upset your cat? Have there been any changes? Has anything happened? And it can be something as slight as moving furniture. That in itself can be enough to upset a cat. Never mind a dog when you are bringing another dog into the family. You know, that also is something that is hugely, hugely traumatic. A baby, the arrival of a baby, if it's not done sensitively, another factor that will upset them. But illness in a family causes a lot of problems. It's not unusual to come across animals that are ill and then soon thereafter to discover, without having asked, that the guardian actually also has that problem. There, I see Cindy showing thumbs up because I see it all the time. Cindy, can this slide come down?
Sure.
I can just see some more faces. Thank you. All right, that's better. And when people say to me, my let's say my son has had a motor car accident, and since the accident, my dog is reacting differently. They are so in touch with what goes on for us and those things that affect us in the world, that they are going to be affected by things that happen around us. So I have a very good friend who went through a time in her life. She got a cat that just walked into her home and became her cat. And then she ended up in a very abusive relationship. She also has quite severe health conditions and restrictions. So this kitty, a young kitty, arrives in the house, absolutely fine, no issue with the cat. On In the first couple of months, everything seems fine, just a normal cat. And then slowly but surely, this kitty starts developing problems. And the problems are aligned to the guardian's issues. So never has that cat been able to be diagnosed with that issue, but that kitty presents frequently. If anything is going to go wrong in that cat's life, it is going to be with its gastrointestinal tract. So it, whether it's in sympathy, whether it's in support, whether the cat is just picking up energetically, we don't know for sure, because some of them do pick up the energetics of disease. I've had cats that have left home, and please don't take offense if any of you are on mood altering drugs or antidepressants, because this doesn't happen in everybody's home. But I had a lady that went on to antidepressants, and in her own words, she said to me, they knocked me out and they made me feel dead. Well, her cat left home. He was not going to stay in a house with a mom that was knocked out and that was feeling dead. By the time that we'd actually we'd tracked that kitty to a couple of houses down the road where it was living very comfortably and where the spinster was enjoying having the company of somebody else's cat. By the time that was done, the mom had started changing her medication onto something that made her feel that much better and that much more alive. Kitty came back and we were able to integrate him back into the home again. So it happens again and again and again, that these cats will, especially cats, they will pick up the emotions, and if they don't like that emotion, they will leave because it's not what they want. Okay. Now, dogs are going to be less inclined to leave, and because it's that much more difficult for them to leave. So they start internalizing things. So I have a client that has severe skin disorder. What's with these dogs? These dogs all have skin issues. They gnaw their paws, they're biting at their necks. I mean, there is absolutely nothing to show that there's a problem with these animals, other than the dad gets upset, his skin flares up, the dog's skin flares up at the same time. So I see it again and again, and I realize how important it is for us to be aware of our animals. I see over there from Sandra, parrots are very sensitive too. I think parrots more so, not only parrots, birds, more so than other animals. It's almost as if they can pick something up way ahead of when it's happening. So I do know that my animals that I work with, when the parents go away on holiday, that they'll say to me, yeah, I know they're going. I've heard them speaking in the family. All right. But birds, no, there's been no conversation about it. And the bird is already telling me that there's this thing happening in the family. So yeah, they are extremely sensitive. And of course, because they can speak some words, be very careful, because they not only speak telepathically, but they'll speak verbally also. So one's got to be very careful with them. My biggest issue that I find, though, when animals withdraw and because things have changed in the home and there's stress, is the problem of a bluting. So where the dog will just wee up against something, where the cat will literally jump onto the bed and wee. Please, please, guys, don't punish these animals. Please do not punish them. They are not doing it because they are spiteful. They're not doing it because they're dumb. They're not doing it for any reason like that. They are literally telling you that there's something not right. And when there's something not right, it is really important to listen and to listen very, very closely to what they have to say. Now, some people believe that only special people can do animal communication. Please believe me, that is not true. Everybody, anybody that has love in their heart for an animal, and I mean, I've got students that are on this call over here at the moment that came through onto the course not being animal communicators, and they are now very successful animal communicators. So I can tell you that we can all do this, each and every one. We just have to be quiet enough for long enough to actually get what they are saying. It's that it's not quiet as in don't speak. It is quiet as in connect. It is quiet as in connect from your heart to your animal's heart. And we're going to chat about that in a few moments. Because quiet in your head doesn't allow you to pick up on all levels. So for myself as an animal communicator, I am clairsentient more than anything else. So I feel stuff. So when I have a pet of my own or somebody else's animal that I'm working with, and I'm connecting with them, I am feeling what's going on for them more than what I am hearing or seeing something run by or seeing a message written on a banner. Those are my lesser gifts, if we're going to call them that. So you make use of all your senses, but in order to make use of those senses, you have got to be quiet inside and open in your heart so that they can speak to you. And please don't think that you're going crazy when you hear them say something. You know, I remember, many, many times I've thought to myself, especially when one of my animals have sworn, because I don't swear much in life, but when my animals swear, it's sort of like, I don't believe you just said that. But clearly they've heard those words. And also be sure that when I do a reading and animals swear like hell, their humans swear like hell at home because they're not getting it from nowhere. Okay. And then people will say, where does he get that language? Never from me, no. But they do get the language. And unfortunately, they are going to embarrass you most when you don't expect it. So, can we go to our next slide, please, Cindy? All right. Learn how to communicate consciously and compassionately with your own animals. Open your heart and speak from your heart. Now, people would say to me, how do you do that? How does one actually achieve that? So I'm just going to take us through a very short little exercise, and it really is a short little exercise, just to show you how easy it is to open your heart. So if you would just sit comfortably and close your eyes for a moment. You're going to be working with compassion and kindness using breath work. I want you to think about the word self-compassion. And as you think about that word, I want you to give it a color. And then you're going to breathe in that color. Whatever the color is, you're breathing into your heart self-compassion. And when you exhale into your auric space, so into your energy field. Just exhale, filling your energy field, and do that twice more in your own time. Inhaling self-compassion, exhaling into that energy field that's about 1 meter all around you. Fill it up with self-compassion. And one more time. Lovely. We're now going to go to extending kindness. Those are the words. Think about a color that goes with extending kindness. And as you're breathing in, you're bringing it in. And as you breathe it out, you're breathing it out to every single being that you know that is in need of kindness. Start with those that are directly related to you, around you, affect you. Do 3 breaths, breathing in that extension of kindness and breathing out into your energy field. Once more in your own time. I'd like you to think about the happiest moment in your life. Whatever that moment was, it can be something that happened recently or something that happened a long, long time ago. Just think for a moment about the happiest moment of your life and give that happiest moment a color. And here I want you to breathe into your heart that happiest moment. I want you to fill your heart with the color of the happiest moment. And then breathing it out into the energy field. Three times, all in all. We're now going to go to the last breath. What do you most love in life? What do you most love in life? Give it a color. Breathe it into every aspect of your being. And as you breathe it in, your heart opens. And the love that you feel is such a different love. It's such an expansive love. And do that 3 times. If you ever wonder how to open your heart, you can use these 4 simple steps or anything that works for you. I often think about a time when I was in India, one of the 2 visits that I had there. And in Rishikesh, they had this big statue of a god by the name of Hanuman. And they this huge statue, and Hanuman's heart, his whole heart is open like this, and you see both sides of the heart. And just that, I mean, I loved Rishikesh. So just the thought of standing there and looking at Hanuman's open heart brings me to that space. But there are so many other things that we can do. The thing that I love the most works every single time. So, and it can change. It doesn't have to be the same thing. And it can be something, it can be a lovely ice cream, or it can be your cat or your dog. It doesn't have to be, some human or even an animal for that matter. But it is really and truly interesting how when you shift your perspective from the outer, so from the outer to the inner, which is what we've just done now, you immediately will notice how you change your vibration. Immediately the vibration changes, and then you move into the space of consciousness. It's that open-heartedness, and the space of consciousness is love itself. So it's not a difficult thing to do. And no matter how I'm feeling or where I am in the world, as far as my emotions are concerned or my mind is concerned, it's always something that I can go to and I can say, I can open my heart. No matter what, I can open my heart. So another thing that I'd just like to mention, and I'm watching time because it'd be nice for us to be able to speak a little. Yeah, Cindy, thank you for that. You could feel the expansion. It's a beautiful, beautiful feeling of just being home in your own being, with a heart that is open and a heart that is genuine as far as love is concerned. All right. So something I just want to mention is how animals, and this is unfortunately a very real thing, how animals can hang in there for us when they are um, really probably close to dying and are going, no, 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 I can't do this. This is not the time. Mom's not ready or dad's not ready. And yes, our animals do often see us as mom and dad. They don't always see us as mom and dad. Sometimes it's, hey, brew, or it's, yes, auntie, or something like that, as they can be quite cheeky. But our animals do hang in there for us. And it's very important that when they are ill, that we make very sure that they don't feel that they have to be there for us, and that they can't just follow the natural route of dying as we all do. I didn't see that message, but we can get to them if needs be. So, okay, frequently people will say to me, I just can't cope with my dog dying now. I just can't cope. You know, there's too much happening in my life at this time. I can't cope. And I look at them and I understand. I do understand that there's never a good time to lose our animals. Never ever a good time to lose our animals. But we've got to be fair about the fact that they are also entitled to leave when it is their time to leave. At the same time, too many people are so ready to want to say, don't hang in for me. And then the dog is going, but like, does he think I'm dying? Because remember, they're telepathic. So immediately they go to that opposite end of the scale. Why is she saying that to me? So one's really and truly got to, time your conversations with these beings in a very a diplomatic manner, but also timely. You can't be seeing a dog that is, or the animal that's telling me that its life force is still at 100%, and it's still very much alive and comfortable. You can't expect to be having that conversation and saying it's okay for you to go. And for the lady, whose cat disappeared and you and your husband died, I mean, that really sucks. That's horrible. So, yeah, to have that in life, but one can only wonder, what was going on there. And it's so interesting from an animal communicator's perspective is to actually be able to say to them, why did you leave? What was your reason for leaving? And sometimes they just can't. They just literally can't be around when somebody's going to die. And sometimes they can't be around when they're going to die. And that's when they leave. And I've had so many animals saying to me, she wouldn't allow me to die. The care was too good. I was never going to die under her watch or under his watch. And yes, that is the reality. But at some stage, we are going to have to go. And it's then being able to speak their language to understand when that animal is saying to you, enough now, or it's saying to you, no, 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 I'm still very busy fighting this fight. And how often have I thought to myself, the animal with this diagnosis can never, ever make it. And there they are years later, still doing really, really well. Seen a couple of those in my animal communication days. Excuse me. So, that last slide, Cindy. All right, reclaiming your bond as a meaningful two-way conversation. Things that are very important over here. And I mean, I've spoken so often about this on these talks and in class, and to anybody in general who will listen. But effective communication is of vital importance. We've got to understand how animals communicate and how they communicate with us. And if we do not understand their communication style, we are going to struggle. So one of the very important things that we've got to do is that we've always got to speak in the positive. So important that we speak words that they will hear the positive of. The brain does not recognize the word not or don't. So if you're going to say, you don't deserve to have that treat, all that the animal is getting, the message that the animal is getting is deserve to have the treat. Our brains, even our human brains, don't recognize that not word. Okay, so it's always speaking in the positive. So you're going to say to them, good boys get treats twice a day. Or you're going to be saying, good girls go out on lovely walks. You're not going to be telling them what they mustn't do. You're going to be telling them what they must do. And then the next important step is to show picture messages in your mind's eye. So thank you for that, Cindy. So those picture messages that I'm speaking about are messages that we relay in the mind's eye as we are communicating with them. So let's say you have a dog that constantly jumps. The dog jumps the minute that visitors come or you come home, the dog jumps. The thing that we're all going to do, and most of us will do, is to go, don't jump, stop jumping, is the way that we're going to be communicating with the dog. Okay? So if I say to you all, and some of you have done this before, I don't want you to think about a pink elephant. Don't think about a pink elephant. Okay? Every single person on this call has a picture of a pink elephant in their mind's eye. Okay? No matter how much I said don't, everybody is doing it. And that is how animals communicate. They need us to tell them what they must do, not what they mustn't do. And then we show them the picture. So if we want the dog, for instance, to stay down when people come and visit, in other words, not jump, we're going to say to them 4 paws on the ground. So we're going to speak to them in a picture that they are going to understand. So it's 4 paws on the ground. It's ignore the cat. Walk with me right next to me at my side. We are telling them what we want them to do, and then we are showing the picture of the things that we want them to do. And if we can get this part of animal communication, every single one of us can communicate effectively with animals, because they are going to communicate back to us, and they are going to be telling us everything in the positive. They're not speaking to us in the negative. So they're not telling us how naughty we are because we wouldn't take them for a walk. They're just going, I want to go for a walk. I want to go for a walk. Okay. And they're showing you pictures of themselves going for a walk. Or they're showing a collar, or they're showing a leash, or whatever it is that they'd be showing you. And if we are quiet enough, we will get it. We will hear them. And we know that they hear us, because how many of you, sorry, just let me see. So dog that bites. Okay, so when animals bite unpredictably, we need to actually have a look and see why they're biting. You know, I have people that say to me, my dog bit my son when the dog was asleep on the couch, and my dog went and climbed onto the couch. My son went and climbed onto the couch. Well, the dog got a fright and it bit the child, which I'm terribly sorry about. I don't think that that is a nice thing to happen to anybody, but we have got to look at the reason why the dog is aggressive and why the dog has bitten in that way. But yes, to that person, I didn't get your name, it would be a matter of saying, you only bite your food. Good boys stay calm. So whatever the situation is that the dog is inclined to behave in an aggressive manner, if you have fulfilled all other parts of its needs, in other words, we call it the hedonic budget. So all animals have this thing. In fact, we all have this thing called the hedonic budget. And our hedonic budgets are filled by activities that are nice. So love from the human, exercise, it could be going out for training, it could be a lovely meal, it could be playing with toys. If we do not fulfill an animal's hedonic budget, it is going to become irritable and miserable and then behave in a negative way. And we're not going to be able to understand that. So we really do have to, when we communicate with these beings, tune into them. What is it that you need from me? So when the dog behaves in a negative way, in an aggressive way, ask it, what happened there? Why did that happen there? So that you give the dog the opportunity. And if you feel you can't get it yourself, get somebody to help you with the communication. What is it within you, within the dog, that isn't being fulfilled that makes it behave like this? And if it is a dog that is bred, a power breed, they call them, then we've got to understand that's part of the genetic makeup of that animal. And we have to accommodate not them behaving in an aggressive manner, but how do we fulfill their hedonic budget? And that's all of what we are speaking about over here, is fulfilling hedonic budgets, loving animals sufficiently, hearing them, communicating with them, allowing them to know that we have open hearts. Most of all, more important than anything, is that you love them. That's what animals want from us. They want to feel that unconditional love. So before I went off onto the aggressive dog tangent, I was speaking about how many of us, we decide we're going to take our dog for a walk. And as we decide, we're still sitting on the couch, or we're sitting at our desk and we think, I'm going to take Snoopy for a walk now. And as you think that thing, Snoopy comes running into the room because Snoopy has picked up on the fact that they're going to go for a walk. Nobody can tell me that animals do not read our minds. They absolutely 100% do read our minds. And I'm so pleased that they are able to do so. So on that note, I just wanted to bring something a little bit different into all of this, and that's the other side. It's not the animal communicator side, but it's the healing aspect of what animals bring to us as human beings. There isn't any scientific data in this regard. It's called a hedonic budget, like a like hedonistic hedonic budget. There's no official statistics on the benefits that animals bring to us when we have them in our lives, but we've all heard how animals get taken into the home for the aged and how much happier those people are. We know that people live longer lives when they have pets in their homes. Statistically not proven, but empirically and anecdotally, absolutely. It has been proven again and again that there's extended life when we have animals, and also that the general well-being of animals, and I'm not only speaking about physical well-being, I'm speaking about mental well-being, cardiovascular health, less people having strokes, blood pressure. The benefits of having an animal in your life far, far outweigh, yes, absolutely, far outweigh the difficulties and the challenges that they may bring. And then also,
sorry, Debbie, a far outweighs another human being, right?
any day.
Sorry, I just had to say that.
All right. And then from from children and their development, also, we know that autistic children have gone from being completely non-verbal to verbal, and that they are only verbal towards animals. They might be speaking to a human, but they're looking at an animal when they're doing it. So ADD, ADHD, all these conditions that are just so much less pronounced when there are animals around. So there are many, many benefits to us having these animals in our lives, and we really should be enjoying them. And for the amount of petting that I can see on screen over here, there's definitely many, many loved animals, and I love having them in class. Nikki, I'm sure you're looking down at somebody over there that's also being loved a lot. It's wonderful. It's wonderful that you all have this love of animals and that you are interested in hearing about them. And then just in closing from my side, and it's not in closing for the evening, I just want to read you a little poem. It's called Sacred Animals, and it comes from Chief Dan George. He said, if you talk to the animals, they will talk with you, and you will know each other. If you do not talk to them, you will not know them. And what you do not know, you will fear. What one fears, one destroys. And that, I think, puts it into a nutshell for me, is that if we are going to go through life with fear in our hearts towards animals, with fear in general, if we are going to live in a vibration of fear, there's only destruction that happens, and animals are never going to allow that. So invite them into your life as many, many as you can look after, and yeah, that you can honor them for being the very, very special beings that they are. I see Felix over there. So
Debbie, there's a really good question. This hedonic budget, is it only for dogs or is it all animals?
all animals.
All animals.
All animals across the board. It would just depend. So if you take a wild animal, for instance, an animal that is, let's say, something like a ferret, for instance, if a ferret is kept in captivity, it will need to have space that a ferret would be happy being in. So in other words, it would have to have environment that would be appropriate to it. The ferret doesn't want to be played with. But if the ferret has to be fed, the ferret doesn't want a plate of food to be put into its cage. It actually wants, and it sounds quite barbaric, but it wants a fluffy or a pinky, which is unfortunately a little frozen chicken or a mouse or rat, to be dangled, and you need to move around the cage to keep the hunt going, because the hunt fulfills the hedonic budget. Whereas the horse may be the riding of the horse, the training of the horse, but also the comfort in its stable of having nice thick bedding to be in, food that is of a good quality. So the hedonic budget will change as far as different animals are concerned. But even, animals sleeping on your bed, that fills a huge part of the hedonic budget. So, and I'm not saying everybody's dogs have got to sleep on their beds by any manner of means. For the life of me, can't understand why you wouldn't want them on your bed, but that's just my thing. But I understand that's difficult to share a bed with, especially with big dogs. But that in itself, that comfort, that already is fulfilling a hedonic budget. So yeah, oh, look at that, Sandra, beautiful baby. So be aware that there is this thing called the hedonic budget, and that we do need to have it fulfilled, and that animals will play out when we are not fulfilling it. Exactly the same as children. If you're going to take a child and you're going to put a child into a room with very few toys, if any toys, and you're going to not stimulate the child, it's going to be naughty. It's going to misbehave. Animals do the same thing. They need a lot of stimulation, and as I've already said, they need a lot of love. There seem to be quite a few questions, so Cindy, can we get there?
Yes, we can. Should we just take, if Yvonne wants to unmute herself, she's got her hand up, and then I'll read you a few as well, Debbie.
Okay, Yvonne?
Yeah, so thanks, Debbie and Cindy. That's the first thing. Second thing is, you told us about this 4-step, right, to open your heart. And afterwards, I've been penciling it down, but I forgot the first step.
So you don't have to remember them in order of the steps at all. It's not necessary. But the first question was self-compassion.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
All right. And I would wonder why you forgot that one, Yvonne.
Yeah. Well,
just putting it out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Andrea, thank you for your affirmation around we need to live in love. So thank you for that. And then
Corey,
I'm
but
not sure, Charlene, what you were asking. Is it true for wild animals too? I ran into a spitting cobra, wasn't afraid, and it lifted its head, looked at me for a short while, and went its merry way.
absolutely, absolutely. You know, I one day, I have a funny story. I opened my back door and there was a snake at my back door, at my sliding door. And I screamed like a girl. I got such a fright. I literally screamed. And the snake looked up at me and he said, "Oh, for goodness sake." Well, I started laughing so much because that is exactly what that snake was thinking. Oh, for goodness sake, do you have to scream like that? And of course, I just stood still and laughed, and the snake left. You know, it had no need to stay there, especially with this woman screaming, or probably gave him a bigger fright. So, yes, snakes do understand. They understand perfectly. Sorry?
Uh,
Yeah, I have the question. I'm living here very close to the forest, and there is very often, a robin and also a mouse. And I follow them, I stand there, and I really love these animals. And the robin is hopping besides or in front of me. I don't know how can I do something else? I mean, I think innerly, oh, I like that you are here so close to me. Is there something else with the wild animals to do?
I'm wondering if he's trying to tell you to go somewhere, to look at something.
Oh,
Is he hopping in front of you?
yeah.
I would follow him and see where he's taking me.
Oh,
Maybe try that and see what what he's trying to show you, because they do. Absolutely, they do. I've had birds that have done that with people, that have directed people to places. So why not a wild robin in a forest?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And we do. We need to have love for all these little creatures. You know, it's so sad that we unfortunately want to be killing the rats and the mice. And yeah, it's not nice having them in our houses. It's not nice for them, crawling into our kitchen cupboards and things, but we don't have to kill them for it. I don't
no,
think that's necessary.
yeah.
I saw a little note.
Debbie, I've got another question for you. Sorry to interrupt, but I'm going to jump in. Is this communication with animals also applicable to animals who are not your pets, but animals who you come across? For instance, a dog or a cat you come across when you're going for a walk that you've not come across before? Or does it take longer to communicate with them than your own pet?
Okay, nice question. You can communicate with any animal. In fact, those ones that get tied outside shopping centers because they're not allowed to go into the shop. I will never walk past those animals without saying hello to them and saying to them, "Your mom and dad are coming soon." You can't go inside the store. Your mom and dad are coming soon. Okay. So I'm finishing on a positive, telling them what is going to be happening. So you can very easily communicate with animals that you find out on a walk or that you see somewhere in a dog park. There's nothing that stops you from doing that. But if you are going to go into a full communication with an animal where you start asking them questions about themselves and about their circumstances, it is very important to have permission from the guardian in order to do that, and then to explain to the animal what you are doing. So if you are working professionally, permission is very important.
Debbie, I'm going to Tracy. Siri has sent quite a long message around a dog that has not responded to animal communication, behaviorists, homeopathy, and he gets walked daily, etc. And the person speaking is a scientist and an experience with another animal that, and I'm not sure, they concluded that the dog is that the dog is autistic.
So yeah, I don't know if I've come across an autistic dog per se, but I certainly have come across dogs that have got cognitive dysfunction. not necessarily elderly dogs. I mean, many elderly dogs have cognitive dysfunction, but in other words, form of senility. But younger dogs that could have a head injury could also not take notice of communication. For me, it's always important to ask the dog why it's not listening. What about why is this not happening? How come you're not benefiting from the behaviorist's intervention, for instance? And I mean, behaviorists and animal communicators work very, very differently. But if we have a behaviorist that uses force in training animals or in teaching animals how to behave, it will often be contradictory to the animal communicator's work. And then there's confusion in those animals' lives because we are building up and we are only giving positive and we're giving treats and they are taking away. So whenever I recommend behaviorists, I will always say a force-free behaviorist. Very, very important. Because we cannot, as animal communicators, work with people that use force in training. And it might be that reason. I can't be 100% sure, obviously, but it could be that that the dog has an injury, a previous brain injury, and is not picking up information like that. And yeah, why not autistic? I mean, if we can be autistic, so can they. I just haven't really come across that before.
Yeah. So, Debbie, just thank you, and I think that answers that. Just something that is, I don't know who has listened to the telepathy tapes that you can get on all the platforms, which talks about a whole lot of evidence. And there's this beautiful one where they talk about the autistic children being able to communicate with the parrots through telepathy. And while you were just talking about that, I think that it just reminded me of that. So any of you, if you're interested in telepathy and you want to see it's this amazing record over the years that a top doctor who was struck off and a filmmaker, and they've made these recordings. It's just really great. Yeah, Siri says it's amazing to listen to these episodes. It's really worth a good listen. So just a suggestion from my side. Debbie, we're going to do an exploration event on the 26th of July, sort of as a prerequisite to the bigger course for people to learn. Now, everybody, I just need to let you know that in lockdown, when we were all new to Zoom, I used to do these days with Debbie with my soul dog, Zaki, and we used to have such a fun time, and I learned so much about animal communication, especially the four paws on the ground, because my dogs welcome everybody. They think everyone loves dogs and that they have to greet them enthusiastically. And as a result, four paws on the ground really worked for me and was a massive game changer. So it's a fun day. You practice, you actually go, oh my goodness, I can do this, because you get great information. But do you want to say a little bit more about that day, Debbie?
It's a very interactive day. I mean, it's just to give you a bit of a background into animal communication. And we speak to two animals on that day. We speak to one animal as in a live animal in the class, and then we speak to a photograph animal to be able to get some idea about that. We look at the details of effective animal communication and how it is very important to do that positive speaking, and that if you're going to speak in the negative, how to do it in the negative in the proper way. Also, how to, if you're going to be telling an animal that it's going to the vet, for instance, not to say to the animal, don't worry, you're only going to the doctor, because the minute you say don't worry, they're going, worry? What to worry about? There must be something to worry about. Okay, so we don't want that. So we only ever assure, we never ever reassure. And no, we don't have dogs coming on that day. I have a cat, so definitely no dogs coming. I'll arrange a dog to come to class, and we will be working on whichever dog it is that comes to class. And then the photograph of probably a cat or whichever other animal there is. Cindy, there was just somebody that asked something about, that said something about not putting human values, and I feel that I'd like to answer that. Whoever the person was, I agree with you that it is not fair to anthropomorphize animals. They don't deserve that. I personally believe that they are so much better than what we are, so why would we dare do that? But we do have to understand that they live in our homes and that they do become habituated to human behavior. In other words, we can't expect them to react like pack animals simply because they used to be pack animals. Things are different when they've lived in our homes for centuries and centuries, and they've been put into clothing and bathed with our products, etc., etc. So there's a fine line that one needs to walk regarding anthropomorphosis and animals.
Yeah, thank you. So just a question about the course. Debbie, because she's so clever as an animal communicator, she can work in a hybrid. So she actually facilitates in person in Cape Town, depending on numbers in her in Hot Bay, or if numbers go over a certain amount, we will do it at Stoop. So yeah, that's just to say. But if you're lucky enough to be in Cape Town, you can do it with Debbie in person.
Can I just say something regarding the course?
Yes, of course.
To everybody who hasn't done the course yet, I did the one-day course years ago and then did the first year-long animal communication course. And since then, I've been practicing as an animal communicator. And if any of you guys that haven't done this type of work and want to do it, I can so recommend it. It literally, doing the course has totally changed my life. And it is the most rewarding thing to do. My relationship with my kitty has changed so dramatically. It's just the most unbelievable feeling to talk to her, to listen to her, to interact with her, and just being able to speak to other animals and to help them and to guide them. And especially when it comes to cases where they are maybe terminally ill, and to carry them right the way through their journey. It is just the most rewarding work. So yeah, I just wanted to say, if any of you are interested, really, I would hugely recommend doing the course.
Thank you, Claire.
Yay, thank you, Claire. That's such a, we didn't ask Claire to speak, guys. That's just off the bat of somebody who did that. So Claire, thank you for that shout out for Debbie and her team of tutors. I agree 100%, and we've just seen a lot. Yes, Penny, I've learned so much. Thank you. So if you enjoyed tonight, think about it. We've done a special for you. If any of you have bought the full price, please reach out to us. We'll give you the refund if you're on this call. We will send the links out tomorrow with the recording. It's been amazing, Debbie. It's always such fun to have you here. I love the animal side of our work that we do. To the community, you really showed up today. We haven't seen such big numbers in ages, so thank you all for showing up, for asking questions, for participating. Debbie, thank you so much. I don't know if you want to have a parting word before we say goodbye.
I just want to say, please keep your hearts open. We do the most amazing things on this earth with open hearts. Please just carry on, shining the light as we all do. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Sending the love to the world, sending love to the
Thank you
community.
both.
Thank you, everybody.
Yes,
Have a
thank
good
you.
evening.